Hello and welcome to another episode of the 3 on 3 Hoops Pod, the voice of 3 on 3 basketball, and where we break down why it is the secret sauce to player development. You are tuning into part 2 of our conversation with Coach Dave, founder of Northwest 3 on 3 basketball and certified mindset coach. If you missed part 1, man, go back and check it out. It lays the groundwork for everything that we dive into here, and there were just a lot of gems that were dropped on that episode. So go back and check it out. There are a lot of gems that are dropped in this part 2 of this conversation as well. So yeah, we talk helping kids bounce back from tough seasons, mindset challenges young athletes face, and lasting life lessons 3-on-3 basketball can teach. So I hope you guys enjoy and take a lot away from this interview. But before we get into it, I do want to encourage each and every one of you to join the 3-on-3 Hoops Nation, our growing community of coaches, parents, and players who are just fans of 3-on-3 basketball and believe it is truly the secret sauce to player development. So head over to our newly designed website, 3on3hoopsnation.com. There you can subscribe to our newsletter to get practice ideas, articles, other tools that'll help you incorporate 3-on-3 basketball into your basketball program, and all that's delivered straight to your inbox. So also, while on the site, you can check out our blog. You can send us a message or leave a voicemail, which may have a chance to be featured on the pod. Who knows? So check it out. Go ahead and head over to 3on3hoopsnation.com. Become part of the nation, become part of a growing community, and let's continue to grow this thing together. All right. So without further ado, here's part 2 of our conversation with Coach Dave. All right. So besides getting your kid to play more 3-on-3 basketball, since we've established that's already one of the best answers, what advice would you give to a parent trying to help their child believe in themselves again after, a season where they didn't play that much or just struggle in general?
Yep. And I would say if we were to keep it narrowed to 3-on-3 basketball, there's just no better platform to just get more reps and more experience in games. I mean, we run 20-minute running clock games,
Yep.
and I mean the amount of touches that each player gets out there. I mean, I've looked at the stats before, and it's substantial over like a full game. I mean, they're getting it's like 300 and some odd percent more touches and opportunities and stuff like that. And when you are coming off a season where you've struggled, where like you said, maybe you were buried on the bench a little, I can't, outside of just some individual skill work and working on what you need to work on, but also just being in an environment where there's still basketball, related. You got to be able to move and cut and do things. There's nothing better than small group stuff. And 3-on-3 kind of being the earmark. I mean, my coaches in high school, in college, and I've always coached this too. A lot of our drills are 2-on-2 and 3-on-3 drills. A lot. I mean, most of our practices are, especially at the youth level, because it's just about recognizing things. And like I said, I haven't seen a system, and I don't say this just because I run a league or I'm a big fan of it, but I haven't seen anything in basketball that quite relates to the player growth and development than 3-on-3 basketball. I just haven't. Rather going to the park and just running up and down with 5 people, it just doesn't. There's nothing that has the environment of understanding spacing and individual responsibility than the 3-on-3 game.
Yep.
And I think if you want your kids to improve in basketball physically and then mentally, where it just gives them confidence and they're getting the reps that they need, I don't think there's a better environment than 3-on-3 basketball. Whether it's leagues, hopefully there's some in their areas, whether it's tournaments, or whether it's, hey, go grab 5 buddies and go play 3-on-3 at the park, just to learn that space. And I just think it's absolutely critical to not only development, but just player confidence. You're getting the reps, you're getting live environments. And I just can't, I can't think of anything else that I've been a part of in my 40 some odd years in this sport that really helped the development of basketball players, especially at the youth level.
You sound like somebody who's perfect for the 3-on-3 Hoops Nation
Right.
spokesperson.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get Coach in there. We're gonna have to get him in there so we can get a lot of his insight. This is real good insight that we've been getting this whole interview. Let's talk about coaches real quick. Coach, What would you say to a coach that's feeling burnt out? Someone that genuinely cares about players, but they're starting to feel like nothing that they're doing or saying is making a difference in the players' developments.
Yep. I recently had this issue myself coaching a youth team, and really successful team, but we kind of fell a little flat the last year.
Yeah,
And I did some reflection, kind of thinking, gosh, and I was feeling the same way towards the end of the season. Was just kind of like, man, it just isn't really happening this year. And what am I doing wrong? And what you kind of, as a coach and as a leader, we have a tendency to reflect right on ourselves first,
yeah,
if you're in it for the right reason, right? And one of the things that I realize, and again, I've gone from coaching, men's basketball to women's basketball, and one of the biggest lessons that I think a coach has to learn is there are times and there are seasons, and depending on who you're coaching, you have to change your perspective and you have to change your definition of success. So if you're losing a bunch of games and it's just not working out, and you instead of beating yourself up over the offense you're running or the strategy you're running, you may just need to change your definition of success.
yeah,
And you may need to change it to, hey, we're just going to try to get good shots.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
going to be our mission at this point. We're going to
yep,
try to get good shots. Um, and that way, hey, we got a good shot on that possession, so
yeah,
you can feel good about that. You
yep,
may need to change your perspective of, well, gosh, we want to win a whole bunch, to now, like, we just want to develop. So I might take a little more losses in the short term, but we're going to work a lot more in ball handling in practice, in
yeah,
finishing in practice, and things like that, rather than having to, like, we're going to work on our press break, we're going to work on our presses and things
yep,
like that. And you may have to suffer through some more losses, but as long as you're not defining your success on those results, and I
yeah,
would just define your success based on process developed things, getting better, watching players improve, becoming a better team
yeah.
overall, and not measure it, because typically when coaches get burnout, it comes from losses
Just getting
piling
beat
up.
up. Yeah,
It's getting beat up. But if you just shift your perspective a little bit, and it could be more growth, it could be more, shot. If you just change your perspective and your definition of success, I mean, ultimately, we're all competitors and we want to win.
yep.
I'm probably the most competitive guy I know. Like I lose a third grade girls game and I don't sleep for 2 days. But at the same time, you've got to back up and realize, like, how am I going to define success for my team here?
Yep.
And if it's off wins and losses, you're going to lose that battle a lot, depending on the coach, on the team you're coaching. But if it's more about, creating an environment of learning or creating an environment of improving, and measuring your success off of those elements, not only does that help the kids grow a whole bunch, but that makes coaching a lot less stressful because your motivation is different, your
Yep.
drive is different. And the other thing, which I will say, is parents really realize and respect that. Like, man, this
Hmm.
coach is not man, 3 weeks ago he's hitting the chair and he's yelling at all the kids, and now he's just out there teaching and he's just guiding these kids. And parents recognize those switches quick and they stick around, because then parents are pretty, I'd say, I don't want to say all, most of them are pretty good about realizing, especially if they've got any athletic background at all, that, oh, okay, now we're kind of focused on development and
Yeah.
learning. Um, and again, one of my big missions in doing this is to kind of realize, like, hey, we're not trying to finish 9-1 on a AAU weekend. Like,
Yeah.
we just want to get better. That's
Yeah.
that's not
Yep.
that's not the goal. So make sure you're tying yourself to coaches, and programs that are all about building and developing, not wins and
Mhm.
losses. But going back to the coaching perspective, yeah, I think one of the strongest things and also one of the hardest things to do as a coach is to step back and change your definition of success for certain groups you have.
Yeah.
And it can't be based on wins and losses, especially at the youth level, because that's all over the map a lot of times. But if you can just shift it to more of a development and improvement type of process, then you'll find yourself much happier, far less burnout, and frustration, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree on that. I saw the same thing like with my freshman team this year. We won 3 games the whole year, but like the first 5 games, well, it was really a pattern throughout the whole season. But I noticed it like within the first 5 games, like we would get blitzed in the first half, but we won every single second half. So the measuring stick changed to, okay, let's just continue winning the second half.
Yep.
And I can see the difference. Like every time halftime came and we went into halftime to have the speech or the talk or whatever, I would always remind them, all right, guys, you remember the second half is ours, so let's go out there and continue the trend. And you can kind of see the body language and the facial expressions changed in the players. Like they were convinced that they were a second half team, right?
Yep.
Like obviously we want to put the first half and the second half together, but for some reason or another, the first half was never ours, but the second half, I got the team to believe in, okay, we're down 20 at halftime, but guess what? Let's go out there and score more than them in the
Yeah.
second half like we've been doing. And we ended up, like I said, we ended up winning 3 games, and 2 of those wins came in the last 3. So we ended up winning two
Yeah.
out of the last 3 games because I got my team to buy into, okay, we're a second half team. Let's go out and
Yeah.
win the second half.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree. Like you have to be you have to have the self-awareness to change the measuring stick of success without within your season so that you can avoid that burnout.
Yeah, and it's hard for a coach, like it's hard to get burnt out or really start feeling worn out when that's your mission. When your mission is like, hey, we just want to be better than we were yesterday. When that's your mission, you just fight and you fight and you fight to be better than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
And wins and losses kind of take a back seat, and you're more worried about the development of that team. And then it gets really hard as a coach to burn out because as long as you're teaching the right way, you're going to see just massive growth. Just like you were saying, even winning 3 games, it was like, man, we're a second half team. We're going to get better every day and feel confident in knowing that. And then by the end of the season, and this is how typically it is, mid-season coaches start breaking down, getting burnt out. But if you keep just going along the pace of improving, next thing you know, by the end of the season, you're right where you want to be. You're peaking, you're winning close games, and you close out with a great amount of momentum, and you probably can't wait till next year,
Yeah.
and that's how it works.
Man, this is like this is why I think like just sports, basketball, or sports in general are just like the best life, you know, teachers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think
Absolutely.
the basketball court, because I'm taking everything that you're saying about, being a burnt out coach and applying it to just life. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like it's hard for me to be burnt out in life if I'm grateful or if I find like little successes and stuff like that. So I think
Absolutely.
basketball court's one of the greatest teachers that you can have. And
Yep.
with that in mind, like what are some off court lessons that you've seen kids take from your 3-on-3 program that can stick with them for life?
I would probably say the word that comes to my mind is just leadership. Like being in a small group environment, it's a lot easier for kids to kind of step out of their comfort zone and feel and start to lead a little bit, especially if they're a pretty decent basketball player. And maybe they get lost in a 5-on-5, or they're playing on a team where they don't have the opportunity to do that. But 3-on-3, I've seen a lot of youth kids that, they've been coming to my camps and things for years and they've never said a word. And then now you get them in a 3-on-3 environment and they're out there leading the charge, telling players where to go and hey, check up and this stuff. Hey, we got to box out, things like that. And I think what it does is the 3-on-3 environment has a knack for developing those kind of leaders because number one, it's not as I don't want to say not as competitive, but it's not as vital to win and lose in
It's
a
not.
three on
It's
three
less
environment.
stress.
Yeah, there's a lot less stress. And, parents are over there watching and they're having a good time. And, they also aren't adding to the stress that sometimes parents can do in 5-on-5 environments. And so they feel a lot more comfortable coming out of their shell a little bit and leading a little bit. And that's probably the biggest thing that I've recognized, especially in the middle school ages, where there's a lot of awkward years right there in the middle, and kids are trying to figure out who they are. And being able to see some of them really come out of their shell as young leaders is such a pivotal point. It's so exposed in the small group environment that it really, really helps them excel and kind of take some momentum into their life of being a leader in their classroom, being a young leader in their families, if they got younger siblings and things like that. And I think that's been, probably, I don't want to say even much to my surprise, but I've actually been a bit, taken back by, when I got into this 3-on-3 gig, kind of just wanting to have a better environment for kids to play basketball in. And all of a sudden watching just kind of to my, just like, wow, man, look at some of these kids that I've known for years now that have, all but said, oh, hey, Coach Dave. And that's all we've ever are just out here, helping lead young kids and, even at some cases going up and talking to the refs about bad calls or whatnot. And it's like this,
And
like
I get
just,
that from the NBA, but
yeah, right. Just form just the overall form of growing leadership, and I think it really breeds a great environment for that. And I've seen kids that have come up through our 3-on-3 league and then gone into high school, and their leadership skills on the court, even at the varsity level, are really, really strong. And I really do. And we talk a lot about leadership in my camps, clinics, and kids I work with, obviously. But we make that a really big point to lead, and don't be afraid to lead because I mean, you guys know as well as I do, like leadership is lacking everywhere in every space on the planet. And one of the things that we need is strong leaders. And I don't think there's any better place to build leaders than in sports. I really don't. I think it's a great environment to where leaders can really build their skills and become great, high school athletes and people, move on to college and then on to their profession or whatever it may be. But I think the more that we can put kids in environments to make them leaders, the better we are all off in the long run.
man,
Great.
Coach, I wish I met you 32 years ago.
Right.
Same.
All right, so this is the fun part of the interview. I'm gonna throw you a few rapid fire questions, Coach Jay. If you think of anything along the way, feel free to jump in.
Yep.
I didn't, I'm gonna give you 4, maybe 5 rapid fire questions. When I spit out a question, you have in honor of the FIBA 3x3 rules, you have 12 seconds to start giving your answer. So no time to
Nice.
think.
Yeah.
All right. So first question: who you got the rest of the series? Indiana, OKC.
Man, that's a good one. I'm liking Indiana. I'm kind of a defensive guy, and I'm liking what I'm seeing from them.
Yep.
I like it. All right. This one's gonna be a controversial, so be careful what you say here.
Okay, good.
Greatest player of all time, MJ or LeBron
I
James?
go Jordan. Yeah, my son and I have this argument like it's going out of style. Michael Jordan. Yeah.
I mean, Coach Jay, I forgot what was your stance here.
Oh, I'm gonna go Michael Jordan, man.
Good.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the only right answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's.
But
I
we're
don't
old
think
heads,
there's
so
another. Yeah. I know we're all old school.
I'm gonna post it on social media. Maybe that gets some interaction.
Yeah.
All right. If basketball didn't exist, what would you be doing?
Man, good question. Maybe looking back, being a teacher probably. And I didn't go that route, but I look back and wish I would have.
Yeah.
But that's probably where I'd be. Yeah.
Still got time.
Yeah. Still, I'm a
Any
young
particular
buck here.
subject?
Yeah.
Any particular subject, or just in general?
I mean, I don't. One of the easy ones. What's an easy? Yeah, it's PE. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to
PE.
insult. I don't want to insult
English.
any teachers. Yeah, I don't want to insult any
I
teachers.
think you just did.
Yeah. Let's. Yeah, we'll edit this out though.
I don't know. I'm always for good content, so I'll
Yeah.
just mess with
Yeah.
you. All right, favorite, or I guess we'll go best basketball movie, or let's do sports movie. Best sports movie of all time.
Movie or documentary? I mean,
The movie in the movie theater.
in the movie theater. Man, I am crazy for sports movies. It's got. I can't believe I don't have an answer for this one.
Oh,
Uh,
Coach Jay, you want to help him out?
I'm gonna just say above the rim for myself, but
Yeah, yeah. I know. I go right to basketball movies.
I like White Men Can't Jump,
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Blue Chips, Hoosiers.
oh
I think that's kind
blue
of
yeah,
dated
chips.
now.
I
yeah. The
forgot
one that
about blue
came.
chips.
Yeah, Blue Chips is great. Hoosiers is great.
Coach Carter.
Coach Carter's a big one.
I
I
love
had
Coach
the
Carter.
pleasure. Yeah, I had the
Sunset
pleasure.
Park.
Yeah,
Oh
meeting him a
gosh.
while back. And it was yeah, it was like I said. They're all basketball movies, coincidentally, right?
What was the movie? Jesus Shuttlesworth.
He
He
got
got
game.
game.
He got game. Yep,
That was just long. That was a long movie.
that was
Yeah,
yeah,
that was a good
yeah,
movie though.
It was a
yeah.
good movie.
Coach,
White
I
Man
got a
Can't Jump
question.
takes it from me.
I got a question for you. I don't know if this is gonna be the last one or what or not, but
No, I got the last one. Go ahead and give your question.
all right. Thoughts on T.J. McConnell?
Uh, man,
Uh,
I go both ways. I don't know. Sometimes he makes me want to throw the remote at the TV. I'm not gonna lie, like man, and it's funny. My son, he's 21, and he's an absolute hater. Absolute hater. And I'm like, well, he does, he's all right. He does something.
I'm gonna have him on the. Give me his number. I'm gonna have him on the
Yeah,
pod next.
I know. Yeah. The more I watch, and I don't watch. I gotta admit, I don't watch a ton of NBA until playoff time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I sometimes scratch my head out there and I'm kind of when I was a player, those kind of players drove me crazy.
Yeah.
Just 100 miles an hour and throwing the
All
ball.
the time.
He
I just drove me
No, he would
crazy.
actually be the prototypical player for all of us.
Yeah,
Who would be one on our team.
Yeah.
yeah. You want that dude around, but man,
Yeah.
playing against him, you hated it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So here's the last question. I always end with this question with everybody. So you build your own 3-on-3 dream team. So you get 3 players and 1 sub. Any player, past or present.
I gotta go Jordan, of course. I probably go Allen Iverson. Um,
That's different.
I
That's our first
think
Allen Iverson answer.
is it? Yeah, I think Paul George is probably one that
Playoff P, huh?
really good
Can you call
one-on-one
him playoff P if he
kind of
hasn't?
skill.
No.
I'm a sour Sixer fan, so I mean, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
No, we're
Who
gonna
can
call him
start?
Paul George.
Yeah, um,
But that's I like Paul George.
yeah. Both of those with him and AI. But, I mean, I'm trying to think. It's always the more I always tend to lean, even though I'm 6, I'm kind of big guy myself, but you always want to lean to a player like Shaq or somebody that just is so dominant down. But from an individual,
Yeah.
from a basketball skill standpoint, when you just think of raw like one-on-one type stuff, those guys, those 3 in particular.
That's because of the era that we all grew up in.
Yeah, we all came up
We're
watching
post.
bigs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Throw it
yeah,
in, and
yeah.
that was the number 1 option on offense.
That was the big one. I know.
So is that your five
That's it.
player? He might
Yeah,
struggle on defense in
we
the
might
perimeter.
struggle on D. Yeah,
I got
AI's
Durant out there.
not playing a lot now. Yeah, actually, if you were to take those 3, and I would definitely throw Durant in as the 4th. Yeah, that's
Yep.
probably the dude I take rather than like a big, at least in this environment. And because that matchup is in a 3-on-3 environment in particular. That matchup is a tough one.
Coach,
Yeah.
what grade do you give Coach team? He's got Michael Jordan, AI, Paul George, and Kevin Durant. Give me a grade.
Well, I got T.J. McConnell on my team, so I'll just throw him out there on Allen Iverson,
we were
and
only
we'll
talking
we'll
about
cancel that
the
out.
playoff.
So
Uh,
I'll give that team a B. And
nice.
yeah, yeah. Good luck getting around T.J. McConnell and that suffocating defense.
Oh my
Because I
god.
got T.J. on my team, Coach.
I like
Oh, I'm
it.
talking about all time. I'm not giving him the playoff
Oh, okay,
restriction
not
that
the
we get. This is
finals.
of
Yeah,
all time.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay. No, I mean, I like Paul George, but I probably would have picked other players before him. That's why I give him a B. I'll elevate it to a B plus.
Thank you. Yes.
So I'm gonna actually stay at a we're gonna stay at a B minus, Coach.
Uh-oh.
Only because I think there are, when I say past and present, there's so many players I can think of
Yeah.
outside of Paul George. But again, you're talking to a scarred Sixer fan, so
Yeah. Yeah, I
that has
get it.
something to do with it.
Yeah, and and as we're thinking about this conversation, a lot of it, like, I mean, one of the toughest, at least players now, like Jason Tatum. I mean, just that dude at a one-on-one level. He's probably the toughest shot maker I've seen. I mean, he
Yeah.
just makes it. That so yeah, that's a hard question, but a good one, a great one actually.
Man, Coach, this has been an incredible conversation. Thank you for your time and your insight, and just the heart that you bring to youth basketball. And just for everyone, just make sure you follow Coach Dave on Instagram at the Coach Dave, and definitely check out Northwest 3 basketball and check out Coach's website, thepurposedrivenathlete.com. Is there anything else? I feel like I got to step up my game. You got so many
Yeah, we can't
things.
leave anything out.
Too many things. No, if I'll just mention one last thing, like, yeah, the mental performance piece has really been something that's been true to my heart. I went through some times, several years ago where a lot of the stuff we talked about, I was really struggling, and I had to kind of back my way in, and it was one of those life events that changes you forever, and I had to reflect kind of back to my sports days and how I approach things. And like I was saying, I couldn't be more passionate about that piece of the game. I think it's more needed than we can even acknowledge, to only get through, to not only help kids in sports, but also help kids in life, and just being able to give them those kind of tools. So, yeah, I recently teamed up with ex NBA, but I should say ex NBA player Antonio Harvey. He's on my 3-on-3 team. If he ever listens to this, but yeah, we've actually teamed up, and he's in my area up here as well, to kind of give kids an opportunity, not
That's
only to play
awesome.
but also learn the mental piece. And we're excited about kind of partnering up on that aspect, and keeping this thing going.
That's awesome, Coach. Coach Jay, any closing remarks?
That's all I got, man. I hope our listeners out there got enough of good insight from Coach Dave. And yeah, this is a great interview. I've enjoyed being a part of it.
Yeah, and like I said, this is some of the things that Coach Dave mentioned can be applied not only to basketball for basketball players, but just in life in general. If you really dig into things that he said, you can apply that to your life, whether you play sports or not. So I think it's very impactful for a lot of things that you said. So all right, so that's it for today's episode of the 3 and 3 Hoops Pod. A big thanks to Coach Dave, and if you enjoyed this, hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and send this to another coach or parent who needs to hear it. Coach Jay and I will be back next week, and we'll break down the opening weekend of the Big Three and the latest from the FIBA 3x3 World Tour. And so until then, keep showing up and keep pouring into your players. We'll see you when you see you.